All right, let's dive into the Book of Micah. It's an ancient text for sure, but honestly, it reads like it could have been ripped from today's headlines. It's packed with social commentary, serious political warnings, and then a totally surprising message of hope. So what's the deal with this book? Is it all about doom and destruction? Or is it actually about hope and a better future? Well, the really fascinating thing about Micah is that it's not an either-or situation. It is absolutely and very intentionally both. And this back and forth, this contrast, it isn't some kind of accident. The entire message of the prophet Micah is built on this powerful tension, this clash between two very, very different futures for the people of Israel.
You can really see that tug of war right here. On one hand, Micah is delivering these incredibly stark warnings of judgment. He's predicting the complete destruction of major cities because of their sin. But then, on the other hand, woven right into those same warnings is this unbelievable promise of hope, a future where everything is restored, a new Jerusalem, and even the coming of a new king.
Okay, so why all the doom and gloom in the first place? You have to ask what was going so wrong in ancient Israel that it called for such severe warnings. Let's dig into the crisis Micah was seeing all around him.
Micah does not pull any punches. He paints this picture of a society that's basically just rotting from the inside out. The powerful were literally stealing land from the poor. You could bribe judges and priests, and the people had completely turned their backs on their faith to worship idols.
And he wasn't afraid to call people out. He went right after the wealthy elite who were getting rich by exploiting the vulnerable. He also had harsh words for the religious leaders, these false prophets, who were just telling people what they wanted to hear, preaching peace and safety in exchange for cash, all while the nation was in a deep spiritual crisis.
But here's the thing. As we've already seen, judgment is not the end of the story in this book. This is where the whole narrative kind of pivots, shifting to this powerful message of optimism. Even when things look their worst, Micah sees this glimmer of hope way off on the horizon. So this is the key. The whole point of the warnings wasn't just to punish for the sake of punishment. It was to get people to wake up, to repent, to change. Micah's message is that God's ultimate plan isn't to annihilate his people, but to purify them and eventually restore them. And maybe the most famous, most incredible example of this hope comes down to one single remarkable prophecy that has literally echoed through the centuries.
What's so wild here is how specific it is. Micah chapter 5, verse 2 points not to the big capital city, but to this tiny, seemingly insignificant town, Bethlehem, and says that's where a future ruler would come from. And of course, this is the exact prophecy that gets quoted centuries later in the New Testament account of Jesus' birth.
This one line, right here, it becomes this anchor for all the hope in the book. It's this incredible suggestion that real restoration won't come from the same old corrupt centers of power, but from a new, completely humble beginning.
Okay, so all of this brings us to the absolute heart of the matter. After all the fire and brimstone, and after all the incredible promises of a restored future, Micah boils everything down to one of the clearest, most powerful statements of faith in the entire Bible. You can imagine the people were probably focused on the rituals, the sacrifices and all the ceremonies. But Micah challenges them. He asks this rhetorical question that basically says, what do you think God actually wants from you? And here it is, Micah's timeless answer from chapter 6, verse 8. He just cuts through all the religious noise and gets straight to the point. It's not about how fancy your ceremonies are, it's about your character and your actions. So let's just unpack this for a second. First, do justice. That's an action. It means actively fixing the things that are broken and unfair in society. Second, love kindness, or some translations say love mercy. The Hebrew word there is chesed, which is this deep, loyal, committed compassion. It's more than a feeling. And finally, walk humbly with your God. That means living your life in a right relationship with your Creator, without all the pride and arrogance.
So, at the end of the day, here's the bottom line for Micah. Genuine faith isn't something you perform. It's something you live. It's not about what you do for an hour in a temple. It's about how you treat people and how you live your life 24/7. It's about your heart and your hands, not just putting on a show.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. This message is nearly 3,000 years old, written for a totally different world. And yet, that call to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly, it feels like it could have been written this morning. So the real question for us is, what does this ancient challenge mean for our lives, right here, right now?